Here are 10 commonly confused words that could make you look less brilliant. Number 1, regimen versus regiment. If you say you follow a strict regiment, congratulations. You've just enlisted an entire military unit to oversee your morning workout. Regimen, with no T, is a routine. Regiment is a bunch of soldiers. Unless your gym trainer shows up in full combat gear, stick with regimen. Number 2, tortuous versus torturous with an R. A tortuous road is full of twists and turns. A torturous road makes you scream in agony because of the tortuous road. If you're describing traffic, go with tortuous, unless you're driving, behind somebody who just learned how to parallel park, and that's torturous. Number 3, eminent versus imminent, often confused. An eminent person is famous. Something imminent is about to happen. If an eminent scientist warns that disaster is imminent, listen to them. Unless it's about the dangers of eating cookie dough, then I say, live your life. Number 4, affect versus effect. Classic mix-up happens all the time. Affect is a verb. It's what happens. Effect is a noun. It's the result. If you say, that movie really affected me, the only effect is people questioning your education. Use affect. And remember, affect starts with an A. Action starts with an A. Affect is an action, a verb. That's a good tip for you. Number 5, discreet versus discreet. Discreet means being careful or secretive. Discreet means separate or distinct. If someone tells you to be discreet about the surprise party, you might start chopping it into sections like a pizza. Don't do that. They sound the same, so speaking it won't matter. Writing it, that's where it will make a difference. Number 6, adverse versus averse. Adverse means harmful or unfavorable. Averse means you strongly dislike something. If you say you're adverse to cold weather, well, you just claim that winter is actively out to get you, which, depending on where you live, might be accurate. Number 7, flounder versus founder. To flounder is to struggle. To founder is to completely fail. If your business is floundering, it's struggling to stay afloat. If it's foundering, it just hit an iceberg. Number 8, pour, P-O-R-E versus pour, P-O-U-R. You pour over a book. You read it carefully. You pour over your coffee, which is fine unless you meant to read it instead. Then we'd have bigger problems. Number 9, counsel versus counsel. A council, C-I-L, is a group of people. A counsel, C-O-U-N-S-E-L, is advice. If you ask the city council for personal counsel, expect a lot of blank stares and probably a zoning permit. Number 10, perquisite versus prerequisite. Aha, that's a confusing one. A perquisite or perk is a bonus, like free coffee at work. A prerequisite is a requirement, like needing to pass a class before taking the next one. If your job's prerequisite is must enjoy free coffee, well, then you hit the jackpot. In conclusion, words matter. Use the wrong one and you might end up in a torturous situation. Use the right one and you might sound eminent.
I keep $2,000 in my wallet at all times. And there was a time in my life where I had $2,000 in my wallet and it was like, I hated it. It was giving me anxiety. And then I got the fuck over it because $2,000 became not a big deal anymore. And now it's like, whatever. So, I don't know. I pay myself. Like, I have a millionaire mentor, multi-millionaire mentor, and I've been mentored for years now. And one of the first things he taught me, well, first thing was intuition. Second thing was to pay myself. To take money out of my account, keep it on me, and never spend it, ever. And this is just a fraction of it. Like, I've been paying myself weekly for years, and I have just stacks of $100 bills. And, yeah. Why would you pay yourself? Because why the fuck would you pay everyone else first?
So recently, I caught up with an old friend, and she was telling me that she got divorced. And I was so surprised because her and her husband were such a cute couple, and they had been together for 11 years. So I asked her, like, what happened? I figured something bad happened. She's like, honestly, I was just bored. Like, my husband, all he did was work. I was a stay-at-home mom. We had 3 kids, and I just got lonely and bored. And she had other friends that had, boyfriends, or, like, they had just got married, and they were always going out, always going on vacation, always partying, like, going to the club, going to the bar, hanging out with friends, and they did none of that. And when she would bring it up to her husband would always tell her, like, I gotta work. Like, they had a big house. They had nice things. Like, he was just trying to work. So they ended up getting divorced. And now, she's single. She lives alone. She's working. And she's dating. So then I told her, oh, well, that must be exciting, like dating and stuff. And she's like, no, I can hate it. And I was like, why? And she's like, because all they want to do is just have fun. They just want to go to the club. They just want to go to the bar. They just want to hang out, have a good time, and then that's it. She said, no one wants to help me out. Like, I'm trying to find someone that's going to help take care of my kids. She's like, I just want someone to be a provider, not just a good time. So I was all like, well, wasn't that what your husband was doing? And she's like, I know. And I guess now her ex-husband is dating someone, like, seriously. They have been divorced for a total of 3 years, and he has been dating this girl for 2 years. She has 2 kids, and they're already living together. She says that he's fully taking care of her. Like, the girl doesn't work, she's a stay-at-home mom. They haven't had any new kids, but they're planning on having kids. And she's pissed, because she's like, how can he move on so fast? Like, I can't even find nobody, and he just found someone so quick, and he didn't even want to give us another try, like, blah, blah, blah. And I was so confused, because I was like, okay, so you divorced him because he was always working and you were bored. So now you are single, going out, having a good time, dating, but you don't like that. Now you want someone to take care of you, a provider. And your ex-husband, all he wanted to do was be a provider. That's why now he is dating someone who he has no problem providing for her and her kids. And she's pissed, because she's like, why would he go and find someone who has kids? Like, he already has kids. Why would he want to take on that responsibility? And I'm like, wait, aren't you looking for someone to take on that?
This is a prime example of a woman making the mistake of leaving a man based on the 90-10 theory. If you guys don't know what the 90-10 theory is, it's where a man can have 90% of what a woman wants in a man, but she becomes so focused on the 10% that man doesn't have that she breaks it off. She lets him go, even though he has 90% of what she wants. And look, when a woman does this, she is fully convinced that she can find a man with 100% of what she wants. And then she goes out into the dating pool and she tries to find a man with that 10%. She thinks initially that this is all that she really wants, and that is what she's focused on, until she starts cycling through these men, and what she finds is that they don't have all the 90% that her ex did. She finds out the hard way that men don't actually all have that 90% that her husband had. That's why she didn't appreciate it to begin with, because she thought that every man, or at least many men, had the same qualities as her husband, but the 10% was lacking, and that's what she needed to find. Well, over time, she realizes that she made a mistake, that she should have appreciated that 90%. And as far as the 10% that was lacking, maybe she could have either, one, accepted it because she knew that the 90% made up for it, or two, she could have agreed with her husband to work on it. But with that, she needs to be open to taking some accountability for herself and her own actions, and potentially looking at changing some things that she does. This is such an important message for women to hear, because you cannot go back on it, because what this man did is that he realized that he was missing out, right? That she may have only had 50% of what he wanted. And then what happened when she released him? He found somebody else. And I bet you anything that woman, that next woman, appreciates everything about that man. But what really kind of stinks about his new relationship is that you can tell by how this friend is talking that his ex-wife is jealous. She is questioning why he ended up going for a woman that has kids, and he is supporting her, and she is a stay-at-home mom, essentially. Newsflash, you had that and you let it go. But if she doesn't take accountability for that, she doesn't realize that it was her loss, that she made the mistake, that is final. There's no going back. She is probably going to dislike that other woman that's going to be around her children for no reason other than she is getting to reap the benefits of being with that good man. So that is why this is a cautionary tale to all women.
I have been waiting for the day to share this story. As you can probably see, my ears are uneven. First of all, that's not the only thing different about them. In addition to this one being more pulled back, it also has way more cartilage, so it really hurts to squish it. Meanwhile, this ear could do all sorts of things. So when I was a kid, this is how I used to sleep. Ear fully folded over. And 5-year-old me just thought it was the coolest thing to wake up in the morning and hear the... I just did that for the majority of my childhood and turned out like this.
This is how much money you need to make $100 a month in dividends with Coca-Cola stock. Coca-Cola right now pays a 2.89% dividend yield. Now, this is on a yearly basis, so we need to multiply our $100 a month by 12 to get $1,200 per year. Then you would divide 1,200 by 0.0289, that's the dividend yield. And when you do that, you realize you need $41,522 worth of Coca-Cola stock in order to make $100 a month, and that's about 593 shares. If you enjoy stock market and investing content, follow me for more.
In Japan, when you ride train during the rush hour, you have to go like this because the woman next to you can be like, "He touched me," even though you didn't. And she will try to act like she will go to the police. And before that, she will say, "If you give me money, I won't make it a big deal." And even if we didn't touch, we have the reputation and we don't want to make it a big deal. So we will have to pay them, and that's how they make money. So be careful when you ride train during the rush hour. Go like this.
One thing I will agree for the rest of my life is that humanity used their free will to put women into crop tops and baggy jeans when we could look like this or this or this on a daily basis. Like, we could have used our free will to put women into such clothes. Like, are you kidding me right now? This is not even funny. I'm grieving this. I want to dress like this on a daily basis. I'm so done.
Whoa, man. Look at that dress. I only used to see it in movies. I thought it was a prop of some kind. I'm surprised there was a time they used to be put on. Maybe during that time, during this side of the world, my ancestors were still busy putting on ribs, banana ribs to cover their self and bodies, among other things. You see, lots of interesting videos have passed, my friend, and thanks for watching them together with me. Thanks also for the comment that you've left. So prepare your minds, my friend, and open up for the videos that are coming up. Mysterious stuff and mind-blowing videos, my friend, that your commentary will be very valued. So let's continue together in peace and good vibes.
What if you ever find yourself wrapped up in duct tape around your wrists? Will you be able to get out of it? I'm gonna show you how. So this is Gorilla Tape to wrap me up like you don't want me to get loose.
For the record, I've never done this. In no scenario.
And because it's the thinner tape doesn't make it any different.
No, I wouldn't think so. I mean, it's only, what, 1 inch? But at the same time...
Yeah, I mean, you can wrap it as wide as you want to, I guess.
Hope you weren't trying to hang on to this tape.
I was thinking about that. I was like, I just bought this tape. You know, it's like the perfect tape to keep in my kit. And, oh, well.
That's tight. Oh, I lost count. Was that 5?
I don't know. I'm just trying not to lose any digits. Wow. Okay.
I think that's at least 8.
All right.
Dude, that's a lot of tape.
Yeah, and that's tight. I mean, I can't even pull my elbows apart.
The indentation in his arm.
Yeah, that's tight. All right, here we go. Tension on the fingertips. Yeah, that's the key right there. Fingertips tight. Slap the wall behind you. Ready? Above your head.
Well done.
Right there.
Wow.
Works like a charm.
If ChatGPT were a person and had to participate in a religion, what would it choose? So it looked at 5 key factors: community and social support, personal growth and mindfulness, meaning and purpose, moral and ethical guidance, and flexibility and adaptability so that it stayed away from fundamentalism.
So focusing on those measures towards human well-being and human thriving, here are the 5 religions that showed up. 1 is Buddhism, 1 is liberal Christianity like UU, 1 is Sufism, which is the mystical branch of Islam, Reform Judaism, and secular humanism, which it's kind of including as a non-theistic religion. That's kind of doing all of that too. So then I pushed it and said, okay, if you could only choose one, what would you choose? And it said, if I were to choose one based on human thriving and psychological well-being, I would likely lean towards secular humanism with influences of Buddhism. Secular humanism provides ethical guidance, meaning, and a sense of purpose without requiring supernatural beliefs. It encourages critical thinking, compassion, and human rights, which align with values of equality and progress. And then Buddhism, especially in its secular form, offers powerful mental health tools like mindfulness and acceptance, which have been scientifically validated to reduce stress and improve well-being. So if you are a secular Buddhist who dabbles a little bit into Buddhism, especially into mindfulness and meditation, you may be onto something. By the way, I also asked it for human thriving, which religion would it be the least likely to join? And it said, you know, any form of fundamentalism is going to be bad for you. So extreme obedience to leadership, fear-based doctrines, isolating members from the world, suppressing individuality, suppressing free thought, justifying harm in the name of faith. It gave some examples. So authoritarian Christian fundamentalism, extremist Islamic fundamentalism, cult-like sects of Judaism, fundamentalist Mormonism, and any kind of harmful new religious movements that are cults. And I forced it. It took a while. I forced it. And it said, finally, if I had to choose just one fundamentalist group that I'd be most wary of joining, it would likely be authoritarian, high-control Christian fundamentalism, particularly within independent fundamentalist Baptists. And I asked why, and it said, while Islamic fundamentalism or cults like Scientology are also deeply harmful, Christian fundamentalism in the U.S. is so widespread, normalized, and hides under family values, it makes it more insidious in everyday life because it's hiding in plain sight. No, ChatGPT is not the new authority on everything, but it is fun to play with.
Grizzly Bear 399, she developed a unique behavior where she actually raises her cubs in proximity to traffic and to humans. And the reason is that male grizzly bears do not like people. They don't like being seen by people. They definitely don't like traffic. Grizzly 399, she learned over time that if she hangs out within 100 yards of the road, she has these people around that are in a way protecting her cubs from the male grizzly bears, which is very, very intelligent, and it's very well suited to the national parks. But now it's become far more complex to survive that proximity to humans.
I just found the craziest detail in the Bible, and it literally makes me think that this must have been from God. There is no way this is man-made, just because the detail is so perfect, and I'm still in shock from it. I want to explain it to you guys. This detail is found in Genesis chapter 5 in the genealogy. And if you've ever read the Bible, you've seen a genealogy before. It's basically just a family tree written down. So it says this guy was the father of this guy was the father of this guy, and so on. It's just a giant family tree with all the names all in order, and you see them everywhere in the Bible. It's really nothing special. So in this genealogy, it starts off with Seth. Seth was the father of Enosh. Enosh was the father of Kenan. Kenan was the father of Mahalalel. Mahalalel was the father of Jared. Jared was the father of Enoch, and so on and so forth. It just goes on and on for a few more lines. Just a normal genealogy, right? But basically each name has a meaning in Hebrew. So the name Noah means rest. It literally translates to that. The name Seth means man appointed. So just like our names could have meanings, their names literally have meanings in their language. It translates to that word. And knowing that, if we were to translate all these names in this whole genealogy into Hebrew, not altering anything, in the same order that they are shown here, it would come out to man appointed, mortal sorrow. The blessed God must come down teaching. His death shall bring the despairing rest. That sounds a whole lot like Jesus, doesn't it? That sounds like what Jesus did when he came down on earth. That's because it's a prediction of Jesus. Let's look at the 3 statements. First, man appointed mortal sorrow. God came down on earth, humbled himself and became man. He was appointed this mortal sorrow of living on earth, having to deal with people who hated him. Second, it said, the blessed God must come down teaching. How can it be more obvious than that? God can't come down teaching. He's eternal. He lives like in heaven. No, he can't come down teaching, right? The only way he would do that is through a human, the human Jesus Christ. Then it says, his death shall bring the despairing rest. For me, that's just the cherry on top. That just proves this has to be about Jesus. His death shall bring the despairing rest. Jesus' death brings us rest from our sins, freedom, liberation. We are now pardoned for all our sins because he bared the weight of them. And the crazy thing is that you can't even alter it. You can't even say, well, it might not be about Jesus. It has to be about Jesus. Because here we're referring to God. It says God must come down teaching, and his death shall bring the despairing rest. Well, how can God die? God is eternal. He can't die unless he takes on a human form and comes to earth, which is exactly what this says he does. So this says that God is going to come down teaching, he's going to die, and his death will bring us despairing rest. Who does that sound like? That sounds like Jesus. But here's the thing. This is Genesis chapter 5. Genesis chapter 5 is literally like the first 2 pages of the Bible. This is where it is, right? This is where the first prediction of Jesus was made. Jesus was born around this time. Just so you guys can visualize it, this was that prediction in Genesis 5. This is about the time where Jesus came around. This much time in between that. There's no way. There is no way. This has to be from God. There is no way a human could have come up with this. You might say, yeah, maybe a man wrote it. Maybe he knew. Nobody knew that Jesus was going to come in the age of Genesis. Genesis is the first book in the Bible. Nobody knew Jesus was going to come apart from the Father. He knew his plans. Nobody else knew his plans. You would start noticing people like realizing that Jesus was going to come, that there was going to be a Messiah in the ages of the prophets. The prophets are around like here. This is where the prophets are. That's when people started getting visions about Jesus and noticing there was going to be a Messiah. And if you try to say this is all man-made, it's all a fluke, this was written in 1440 BC, before Christ. 1400 years before Jesus Christ was born. There was a prediction about him. Not just any like vague prediction that could kind of have some wiggle room in it. A literal prediction that God was going to come down on earth and die and bring us rest. This can't be written by a man. There's no way a man wrote that in 1440 BC, knowing that Jesus was going to come 1,000 years later. I don't think this was any coincidence. You guys can let me know what you think, but this has to be made by God. The Bible is perfect. The Bible could not be man-made, and the Bible was sent to us from God so that we could learn about him and get to know him. Have a great day.
Okay, another thing that I was not prepared for when moving to Canada is if you ask Canadians how far away something is, they respond in hours, not kilometers or miles. Like if I said, oh, how far away is Calgary? They'd say, oh, it's about 8 hours. Everything's in hours.
Children should be more scared of their fathers than they should be of the police and teachers. And what I mean by that is, if I commit a crime, my worry is not the police officer. I could care less about him. My worry is when they tell my dad. Because I respect my father more than I respect any police officer. Like, who's that? Or like even the teachers. I couldn't care less what the teachers thought. I'd be like, if they tell my dad's going to kill me. That regulated kind of behavior.
I can tell you almost immediately if you have a tilted uterus. Hi, my name is Haley. I'm a women's health nurse practitioner, and I like talking about women's health topics that are not talked about enough. I would say that 70 to 80% of my patients have an anteverted uterus. This means that it curves up towards the bladder instead of towards the spine. Knowing that the majority of my patients have an anteverted uterus, when I'm going to look for the cervix, I'm going down because when it flips toward the front, the face of it faces down. If you've ever been told that you have a tilted uterus, the majority of the time this means that you have a retroverted uterus or a retroflex uterus. This means that it flips towards your spine, towards the bowel side. Some people are born with this. Sometimes it occurs over time. Fibroids, pregnancy, endometriosis attaching it to the pelvis, things like that. A retroverted or retroflex uterus does not impact your chances of getting pregnant. Sometimes it can make intercourse a little bit more painful, but also there's a lot of other contributing factors that sometimes can make you have a retroflex uterus. Endometriosis, things like that, which already would make it painful in and of itself. If you're just curious about what way your uterus faces, ask your provider the next time you're getting a pelvic exam. They can tell you immediately.
What the fuck? happening? Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Oh. I'm so scared. Why? I'm scared. God, Jesus Christ. Oh, my mind. What's happening? My mind.
Let's clear this up. Jesus wasn't some soft, skinny guy in a white robe. He was a beast of a man. He was a working-class carpenter who had to haul stone and timber by hand. He was imposing enough physically that he turned over tables and drove out crowds of people from the temple. And even after he was beaten to a pulp, he still had enough strength to carry his own cross. He wasn't just spiritually strong, he was physically strong. Christian men, we need to be like Jesus, strong in spirit and strong in body.
Fun fact, I'm a sleep expert. How do I, at 54 and a half years old, sleep through the night for 8 hours without even getting up to go pee? Let me tell you the top things that you need to do if you want to sleep through the night. Number one, don't co-sleep. If possible, it's disturbing. It's disturbing to everybody. Sleep by yourself. Sorry, that's the truth. Number two, go to bed and wake up at the same time every day. Try to have a routine. Number three, take magnesium glycinate before bed. I take 200 milligrams. That's 2 capsules. I'm currently taking Pure Encapsulations. That's the brand I'm using right now. If you take HRT, which I think most of us need to after menopause or perimenopause, progesterone is what I take. 100 milligrams of bioidentical progesterone, also at bedtime. Number 5, salt water. You need salt. You need to drink salt water before bed. So I take some Baja Gold sea salt in a little bit of warm water, and I take my magnesium and my progesterone with my salt water. Why? This is going to increase your blood volume, and it is going to actually hydrate you. So it's going to take any liquids and push it into your tissues and into your cells instead of into your bladder. Then you're going to take your clock out of your room. That's number 6. You don't need to know what time it is. It's fucking time to sleep. That's what time it is. How do you know when to wake up? If you need an alarm, you can set an alarm. You can put your phone in the bathroom, or you can set your alarm clock and cover the clock with a t-shirt or a blanket or a towel or something. I use a special clock called a hatch, so I have the time go off at 10 and it doesn't come back on until 6. So if I don't see the numbers illuminated, guess what time it is? It's time to sleep. That's it. It's time to sleep. Now, we all wake up around 3 in the morning. Maybe it's 2, maybe it's 4. We all wake up in the night. But when you sleep train yourself to not get out of bed and not go to the bathroom, you will stop having an awareness that you have woken up at this time, and you will roll over and go back to sleep. But you can't look at a clock, because that's when you start stressing yourself out. Like, oh, it's 4 in the morning. I'm going to be so tired tomorrow if I don't fall back to sleep. You don't wake up to pee. You wake up because either your blood sugar changes or your temperature changes. It's normal. You might have a histamine dump at that time. It's normal. You don't wake up to pee. You wake up and then you decide to go pee. So cut your liquids earlier before bed. Drink that salt water, just a very small amount right before you're going to sleep. Within an hour before bed is fine. And get off your phone.
Okay, don't be looking at your phone ever in bed. It doesn't belong in your bed unless you're shopping on my website, of course, then you're fine. What else can I tell you? Black room, black out your room, make sure there's no light. I am such a crazy person that I even put black electrical tape over the television power button. It has like a little illuminated ring, and the smoke detector in the ceiling, it like I can see some green. This window right here, you can't tell right now, but I run black electrical tape around the edges of it just so it doesn't look light like this. It's daylight out right now, so it's different, but I really make sure the edges are blacked out. What else can I tell you? Weighted blanket, white noise machine, and your room temperature needs to be like 65 to 68 degrees. But my number one tip is not to co-sleep. It'll change your life, and your husband is just gonna have to deal.
Thanks for watching all this way, my friend. It's been a pleasure being with you. Before I tell you what I think about that last video, let me share with you something here first. A short story. Suddenly, an angel of the Lord appeared, and a light shone in the cell. He struck Peter on the side and woke him up. Quickly, get up, he said, and the chains fell off Peter's wrists. Then the angel said to him, put on your clothes and sandals. And Peter did so. Wrap your cloak around you and follow me, the angel told him. Peter followed him out of the prison, but he had no idea that what the angel was doing was really happening. He thought he was seeing a vision. They passed the first and second guards and came to the iron gate leading to the city. It opened for them by itself, and they went through it. When they had walked the length of one street, suddenly the angel left him. Then Peter came to himself and said, now I know, without a doubt, that the Lord sent his angel and rescued me from Herod's clutches and from everything the Jewish people were anticipating.